What's up, everyone? Welcome to another edition of Processing Blue, where we process blue for you. I'm Alex Zietlow. He's Mike Kaye, and we cover the Carolina Panthers for the Charlotte Observer. Mike, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing well. I love covering training camp. Inside baseball, there are beat writers that really love covering the season. There are beat writers who love covering the off season. There are beat writers who don't like covering training camp. I think we like covering all three. And so this has been a fun moment for both of us to kind of do a little bit more analysis, give you insight into what you can't see. And I'm enjoying it so far, 2 weeks in.
Also, where did you and when did you get that shirt? Because, like,
Which
at this point,
line?
Mike, yeah,
Flash.
the Flash shirt. Because at this point in our working relationship, I thought I've seen every single combination of work attire, and this is the first time I've seen this.
I got this. Fanatics was doing a sale, and I was like, "Wow, that's an awesome shirt." I'm like a low key, very big fan of the color yellow, and I was like, "Wow, that's cool." And I've always wanted an homage T-shirt, so because I like the way they fit. But yeah,
Okay.
a couple weeks ago, I think.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. Well, we can keep talking about your fashion statements, or we can because that's what I'm interested in, truly.
Yeah, clearly.
But we should probably get to talking about the Carolina Panthers. We got a great show for all of our listeners today. That includes an interview between our columnist Scott Fowler and longtime NFL author Paul Domowitch, who just published a book about legendary Panthers player and coach Sam Mills. Sam, obviously the inventor of the keep pounding battle cry, and just was an inspiration in many more ways. Stick around for that interview. That's surely a treat. But first, Mike, today we're fresh off the field after watching the Carolina Panthers' final training camp practice prior to the start of the preseason. And dude, these Panthers just seemingly cannot have a day end without some sort of injury scare. Honestly, it's a little weird. It's a little creepy. Can you take us through the Xavier Legette of it all today?
Yeah, going up against undrafted rookie Cam Miller from Rutgers in the back of the end zone. It was a very physical play. He made a leaping catch that he I don't know if he could have really gotten in bounds because Miller was really leaning into him and pushing him out, but he did secure the catch and everything. But as he was falling down, he felt very hard on the back of his head and it looked like his back. He was down immediately, stayed down. Trainers came by, Dave Canales, Bryce Young, Tommy Tremble. Jonathan Brooks was over there immediately, too. Canales made a couple of different trips. They sat him upright. He was moving his hands. He was alert. But it was a scary scene because anytime you see somebody fall that hard on the back of their head or back, you worry about a stinger or you worry about something with the back or you worry about the head. So it was scary for a moment. He was able to get up on his own and walk to a cart. They carted him off the field. After practice, Canales said that he was cleared from a concussion, which is great news, but he has a stinger. He was not going to play Thursday in Canton regardless, and they do not practice again until Sunday. So he's going to get plenty of rest for the norm. But they also don't play in the preseason against the Bills for a while either. So he's going to probably get more than a week of rest if he is in turn going to play in Buffalo. Alex, you were standing like right there. We were separated as I was trying to find Wi-Fi because T-Mobile keeps doing me dirty on the practice field. What was your initial reaction when you saw him go down? Because I went from, wow, that was an impressive effort on a catch to, oh no.
That's exactly where I went to. And then I was also like, dude, this wide receiver room just actually might not be able to afford another long-term injury specifically.
Yeah.
Obviously, after Chris Brazzell went down with a season-ending injury last week on Wednesday, he suffered a tear in his LCL, which is not which is obviously adjacent to the ACL, in his left knee. And the coaching staff, he went out and got an initial opinion that said that he would be out 8 weeks. And then he got a second opinion. And then he and the team kind of made the decision that it would be best for his career if he just underwent season-ending surgery and he missed all of 2026. So we were talking a lot about Chris Brazzell this year and how he could give this offense a different element. He could, with his linear speed and his deep play potential and his explosiveness and just his flat out, like, just big play ability. He could make this offense really shine, and he can unlock Bryce Young in ways that Bryce wasn't really able to in 2025, even though the advanced metrics say that Bryce is a really, really, really good deep passer. If you don't take those opportunities, that's all for naught. And Chris was going to be this guy who was able to kind of unlock him in this way. And then Chris goes down, and now it's like, all right, it's Xavier's time. It's Xavier Legette's time. And guess what? He has had a really good training camp. He's had a stellar training camp, in fact. He's
agreed.
Yeah, he's down 7 to 10 pounds from his playing weight in 2025. No soft tissue injuries. Really secure with the ball. I mean, even on the play that he got injured, he hauled in a touchdown pass, like the type of pass that he has never hauled in his NFL career. So that's where my mind went. I was just like, geez Louise, this was Xavier's time. And it still is. Thank goodness that the injury wasn't that severe. But that's immediately where my mind went. And it was scary for all involved. I will say this, though, and I don't mean to be super callous about this because that was a nasty fall. It could have been a really dangerous play. But Xavier's not the only one shining this training camp. There's another guy shining this training camp. And I know you got a really annoying look on your face right now because I told the aggregators to come get you. I told them to come get you when you said that this man, Jasim Reed, was going to make the team. And I still am going to hold on to some of the fact that was back when Chris Brazzell was healthy and blah, blah, blah. But the way that Jasim is playing now, he's got to make the team at this point, right, Mike?
Yeah. Yeah, if he's healthy, he's making this team. It's going to be impossible to hide him with waivers. Whether he's the sixth wide receiver that's inactive on game day and he only plays when one of the main guys goes down. He was getting first team reps today and looking good. This is a guy who has made Kenny Pickett and Haynes King look very, very good, including today when I thought Kenny Pickett threw one of the best timing routes that I've seen from him all summer and spring since he's been with the where he just laid out for the ball and call. There wasn't any hesitation there. They've got a feel for each other. And after practice, Pickett said, when a guy's got it, you know. And that's something that you heard with Andy Dalton, with Jalen Coker. Not that we're comparing the two, but I think he's more so a comparison to Bryce and Tremaine, where it was like during the spring, he was kind of an afterthought. As you'd mentioned before, that he was involved in rookie camp because he was a first-year player who had never played. I don't know, man. He is making like 3 plays that are excellent every single practice with quarterbacks that are not Bryce Young. When he's in there with Bryce Young, he looks good. I mean, Jimmy Horton made the best play of the summer today where I caught you. I don't know if you know that I saw you, but Jimmy hit a one-handed catch, and it was definitely a one-handed catch against air. And I looked over and I saw Mr. A to Z like, oh, kind of like how I did when he was prompting this segment. But that's it, right? Like Jasim Reed is I mean, like he is blowing it out of the water for a guy who's a dark horse, who is maybe right now you could argue is the 4th guy in the pecking order potentially, if Legette has to miss a couple of weeks. Like it's him and David Moore. Bryson Tremaine's made some really good plays. Like, I don't know, man. That like even if Legette's missing time, that's 5 guys, and so you wonder about the rest of the group. I don't know. I like the way he sets up his routes. I love how he catches everything. Again, I will up my ante because Chris Brazzell was healthy, whatever. I think that not only will Jasim Reed make this team if he's healthy, he will be active on game days. Like you'll see him have a part in the offense. He's a guy. Okay. He's a guy that if I were an assistant coach who really wanted to give a backup quarterback some advice, I would say, hey, first read should be 86 every single time. Because I promise you, Haynes King has looked the best that he has looked when throwing to Jasim Reed. Kenny Pickett has looked the best that he has looked when throwing to Jasim Reed. And this isn't just a practice. I mean, this isn't just like a training camp thing. There are guys that would go on record on defense that said he was whooping their butts. Paraphrasing. This is a family show after all. Processing Blue, award-winning. Like, he's just a guy, and maybe he's just like an elite practice player. Like, that happens. Like, I've seen guys like that during my career. I think you're going to see during this preseason that he is more than that. I think he's doing everything humanly possible to make this roster, injuries or what. If Brazzell was still around, if Xavier Legette was fully healthy, I still think he makes this roster. And I think he's going to lead the team in receiving yards and receptions during the preseason. And I feel pretty great about that.
Mike, you said two really interesting things there. Well, you said many interesting things, but two things that stand out and I wanted to ask you about. One, you mentioned Andy Dalton and his role in bringing Jalen Coker on. That was something in my one-on-one conversation with Kenny Pickett. I didn't mention Andy Dalton by name, obviously, but Kenny is very aware of the fact that part of the role of a backup quarterback is to elevate second-string guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%. This isn't just, oh, Kenny Pickett wants to look good on tape, so he's going to throw the ball to Jasim Reed. As a relatively veteran guy in the NFL, he knows that part of his job is to discover talent, excavate diamonds in the rough for Bryce Young and Dave Canales to know. So that's good. Secondly, you said Jasim Reed is going to be active on game days. I understand that a lot of people will sort of understand what that means, but not understand what that means at the same time. Hunter Renfrow was on this 53-man roster last year. At a certain point, he stopped being active on game days. Jimmy Horn Jr., same thing. He was on the 53-man roster, but when it came to the 46-man, these are the only 46 guys that can play on the team, who can dress out on the team on Sundays. He also wasn't playing. So what makes you so confident that Jasim will find a way to be valuable among those 46 guys on Sundays? Because to me, based on what Dave Canales said today, they still need to figure out a role for him on special teams. They still need to figure out ways to get him like on the field, even in four receiver sets. So I'm curious why you're so confident about that.
I think he will be placed in that Hunter Renfrow spot where it was like Jimmy Horn and Hunter Renfrow were not playing special teams. In theory, they are like a package player for the offense. That's what they are. And I think because Reed can play all three wide receiver spots, he gives you a lot of cover. The same thing with Bryson Tremaine. The other night at FanFest, when I asked Dave Canales about him playing all three positions and being a standout. Or no. I asked him about being a standout, and Canales said, Jasim can play all three spots. Bryson can play all three spots, and David Moore can play all three spots. That is innately valuable for this team, especially when they want to use Tetairoa McMillan more in the slot this year. They also have a guy in Jaden Coker who can play more X, who can play more slot. And if one of those guys is out, you need somebody who can effectively take that spot. Maybe that's Bryson Tremaine, but if you're playing him a lot on special teams, he could be winded to start a drive because he's running down kicks or he's covering punts or whatever. And David Moore's a guy they trust a lot, but I'm not convinced that like he's competing with Xavier Legette for time. I think he's competing with Bryson Tremaine for time. You know what I mean? So I think Jasim Reed has been everything that they hoped John Mechie could be, in that he is a technician, he makes plays, he can catch the ball, he can do all that stuff. And Mechie's been fine. Like, I don't want to like make this sound like Mechie's been terrible, but he hasn't been Jasim Reed. He has not been Bryce. He has not been David Moore. Maybe the preseason unlocks something that and locks up something in Jasim Reed. But right now, I just like I don't know how you put this guy on waivers with how he's performing in practice. And if he continues this in the preseason and joint practice, which we have a long way to go. Yes, we have a long way to go. I'm not trying to curb anything. You can make sure that you give me heck if he gets waived. That's totally fine. I feel very confident about this. But he's got to stay healthy. And he's got to probably show them something on special teams where if like David Moore or Bryson Tremaine got injured, you could put him out there. I'm pretty sure he could be fine on kickoff team if they really needed a coverage guy. I'd also really like to see him get some returner reps because he's got good hands. It's a matter of like, can he break loose? Like, I'd kind of like to see him on kickoffs. I'd like to see a lot of guys on kickoffs if we're being honest.
Yeah, and we probably will on that Hall of Fame game on Thursday night in Canton. But we will talk about that later in the show. But first, let's send it over to Scott Fowler for the interview with Paul Domowitch about the late, great Sam Mills.
Listeners, I'm butting into Mike and Alex's talk here. This is Scott Fowler, the sports columnist at the Charlotte Observer, but you are really going to like this if you are a longtime Panthers fan. I am talking today. Our special guest is Paul Domowitch. Paul has covered pro football for the Philadelphia Inquirer and Daily News for nearly 40 years before leaving the paper in late 2021 and getting into the book writing business. He signed a 2-book deal with the Philadelphia-based Navigator Books. His first book came out last week, and it is a terrific biography of the great Carolina Panthers linebacker Sam Mills, Mr. Keep Pounding himself. Sam Mills, the subject of really a masterclass in reporting in this book. And Paul's next book will tentatively be out in 2028, and that will be on Dick Vermeil. But today we are talking about Sam Mills. Paul, how are you?
Doing well, Scott. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. So you're based in, the Philadelphia area where you were a really great NFL writer for years and years. But you wrote a book about a player who mainly played his entire NFL career anyway, was in New Orleans and then here in Charlotte. So what inspired you to write this book?
Well, I mean, I knew Sam from the beginning of his professional career. I covered the Philadelphia Stars shortly after I got to the Philadelphia Daily News in the USFL. And of course, as every Panther fan knows, that's where Sam got his professional start with the Stars. So we got to know each other there, and covering the NFL over the years. Obviously, Sam and I saw each other and talked. I had a chance to talk to him shortly before he passed in 2005. Scott, I've always, my favorite stories to write have been stories that, inspire people, that move people. And, Sam's story as well as anybody. No, there is no more inspirational story than Sam's. I mean, the ultimate underdog, overcoming what he overcame, and then to have such a early tragic death at the age of 45. When I left the newspaper business and wanted to write a book, he just seemed the logical guy to write about. I mean, it's a story that was kind of been inside me for a long time.
Yes, I agree. And really, I've always thought he deserves the biography treatment. I mean, Sam's life really, could make for a great full-length movie, I believe. It's one of those stories that it almost seems unreal, but having lived it as you and I have, it was very much real. And Sam Mills, I didn't meet him until he was 36 years old. I was looking at that today. When he signed with the Panthers, he was 35, but by the time he played his first NFL season here, 36. As a positional player in the NFL, you should be retired by then. Luke Kuechly retired at 28. Sam Mills started his career here, at 36, and yet in 3 years did so much here that they built him a statue. And as you point out in your book, and I always tell people this, they can't believe it, that statue came well before Sam Mills had cancer. That was purely for his playing career. You tell a great story in that book, Paul, and I wonder if you could tell it here about a time, the sculptor of the statue, and a time he was at the game here, and the Panthers were playing New Orleans, Sam's old team, and some things happened with the fans. Can you tell us that one here?
Yeah, I mean, Todd Andrews, the sculptor, he's from California, came in for a Saints Panthers game, and he was out by the statue, and some Saints fans were putting beads on the statue to honor Sam. Well, the Panther fans that were out there didn't realize that this was a good thing, that they were trying to honor a guy that played for the Saints. They thought they were trying to desecrate the statue, and I mean, they very nearly came to blows, and Todd Andrews, the sculptor, had to kind of intervene and convince the Carolina fans that they mean no harm. They actually love him as much as you guys do, and this is how they honor him, with these beads. So, yeah, it was great.
Yeah. Todd Andrews, interesting guy, also did the 6 snarling panther statues outside the stadium too, which are, of course, probably what the stadium is known for as much as anything. You talked to more than 80 people, I believe you write in the book, which is a lot of interviews. And one of the best compliments I can pay it is, as an old newspaper guy myself, it felt like an old newspaper guy was doing the reporting. I'm talking shoe leather reporting here. You're talking to people at every level: high school, family, college, Montclair State, every level of the pros. I wonder if you could, out of those 80, tell us about some of the people you found most memorable in your interviewing process here to write. And I should show you the book here, guys, if you're on YouTube with us. Just Give Me a Chance to Fail. A great title, by the way. We'll talk about that too. But among your interviews, Paul, what were some of the most memorable?
Well, I start the last chapter, Scott, with a quote from Antonio Gibson, who played with Sam in Philadelphia and then with the Saints for 5 years. And they were, he was one of his closest friends. And Antonio just spilled his emotions about Sam. I mean, about what Sam meant to him. And I kind of encapsulated it in the quote that starts that last chapter about, Sam calling him a couple days before his death and thanking him for being a friend. And Antonio's like racked with guilt. Like, what did I do? Other than, be a friend. I mean, this guy, he was talking about what Sam meant to him. He said he made him a better person. He made him a better father because he helped him when Antonio's mother died. He raised his younger brother, and Sam and Melanie, his wife, helped teach him how to do that. So it was just, to see people that he played with that were his friends from high school that loved him so much and shared all of those memories with me and how much he meant to them beyond football. It was just amazing. So, Antonio was a perfect example of that. Vic Fangio wrote the foreword, Scott, who well. Defensive coordinator for those 3 years that Sam was playing for Carolina, and then one season is on his staff there. When I went to Vic, I knew the relationship between Vic and Sam, but he couldn't say yes fast enough when I asked him if he'd be willing to do the forward. He just loves the guy so much. It's 21 years after his death. He still has his picture that has been on his wall everywhere he's coached since Sam died. So that, it's just to see the impact he had on people like that is amazing. Dom Capers, Sam dies in April of 2005. It was 2 days before the 2005 draft. Dom is the head coach of the Houston Texans at the time. Scott, football people. There's nothing is supposed to get in the way of football. And when Sam passed, they called Dom to let him know that Sam wanted him to speak at his memorial service in Charlotte. And Dom thought about it. Well, the draft's like 2 days away. This is pretty important. And then he thought nothing's more important than being there for Sam. If Sam wanted me to be there to speak about him, I'm going. And that's exactly what he did. He flew him, got on the next plane to Charlotte and spoke at his memorial service. So
yeah, that really is.
That's what it is that I remember.
They
The two that
yeah. Go ahead.
I was going to say the two guys that I wish I had gotten a chance to talk to, tried for a year and a half to talk to, and didn't, is Ricky Jackson and Pat Swilling. You know, two of the guys on that dome patrol with him. Ricky was a good friend. And I mean, I left voice messages, text messages for a year and a half with both of them. Went through the Saints. They tried to help me. Went through Ricky's sister or daughter and left messages with her. And they just never called me back. I to this day don't know why. They certainly had terrific relationships with Sam. Maybe they couldn't bring themselves to talk about him. They're afraid that they would bear too much of their soul. But I wish they had, especially Ricky, because I know how close Ricky and Sam were. But that's the only regret I have about this book, is that I didn't get a chance to talk to them.
Well, having done a few books myself, there's always that, isn't there? You hardly ever get everybody. There's just it just doesn't work that way. But there probably were people you maybe were surprised also that you interviewed that maybe you didn't think, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to run that person down or whatever, because it's a commitment, right? They're talking to you, they're helping you in a book, and but they're also wanting to honor Sam. Was there anyone like that you spoke with that you weren't maybe sure you were going to, you were kind of pleasantly surprised that you were able to interview?
Yeah. Top of the list, Scott, is Kerry Collins.
Yeah.
His 3 years.
Tough. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, he ended up having a terrific career, but the years in Carolina were difficult. You know everything that went on there. And he got right back to me when I tracked him down in Tennessee, where he was coaching high school ball. And, to hear him talk about Sam trying to help him early on, he admitted he wasn't ready for that help, but he never forgot that Sam tried. I mean, he tried to help him with how he was, his problems with the media. And then, that episode at training camp late in his career at Carolina with the comments he made. Sam sat down with him and tried to help him. And, the fact that Kerry was willing to tell me what he felt about Sam and what he felt about him trying to help him then really was impressive. Kerry clearly is a different man now than he was during his early years with Carolina.
Right. No, that was one I was thinking about as well, because Kerry is, another guy who made a complete, 180 in the best way since he was here, but his years here were difficult. So that was, and I remember Sam in the locker room here for his 3 years, and he was so good at being, he was a tremendous player, and I think everyone knew that. I thought, in my opinion, he was the best player on their team in 1995, their expansion year, when as you point out, he was fourth in NFL Defensive Player of the Year. Fourth. That's big. That's big time. Fourth best defensive player in the year on an expansion team. And then even the next year, I thought, right. They were terrific, and they had several really good players. Sam was at least among they all made the Pro Bowl, that linebacking core of Kevin Green and Lamar Lathan and Sam. That was just, but Sam always he was great. He enjoyed being made fun of almost. He was a self-deprecating guy, and he would lead a lot of times with some variation of, I'm short, balding, and I can't see very well. And other than that, I'm okay. But those three things are, not. And so he kind of disarmingly talked about, how amazing it was he was still in the league. But I don't think I realized I was early in my career that it was so remarkable that a guy who was 36, 37, and 38 in his 3 years here was as great of a player as he was. Now with the Stars, when he played in Philadelphia, because I know that's when you first got to know him, what was he like then, would you say?
Same way. He was very self-deprecating. There's some stories in the book about how, his teammates would do practical jokes. Sam was good at that too, but they always put a sign on the little boys' urinal in the locker rooms, reserved for Sam and another small player. And Sam just took it in stride. The thing about Sam, he just, I mean, Jim Mora wanted to cut him the first time he saw him, which is, amazing. I mean, considering that, fast forward to after, when he's inducted into the Hall of Fame, and Jim calls him the greatest player he ever coached. And that, as everybody knows, Jim also happened to coach Peyton Manning.
Right.
So, that's, there were so many people along the way that just refused to believe their eyes. I mean, everywhere he played, it wasn't a matter of him not playing well. I mean, he got to try out and sign after being undrafted and trying out with Cleveland, and had a spectacular training camp. Bill Cowher was in that camp and thought he had the team made. Sam thought he had the team made. But Marty Schottenheimer, just like so many others, just saw a 5'9" guy that they didn't believe could play football at a major level. So, that was unfortunate. But Sam, his perseverance, I mean, aside from, Cleveland might have been as down as he ever got, Scott. I mean, because he thought he had that team made, and it really, when he didn't, he was distraught. I mean, his brother talking about him crying on the phone. But aside from that, he just bucked up and everywhere else. I mean, was just going to prove to anybody that gave him a chance that he was good enough, and that his size was not a factor. And ultimately, Jim Mora became convinced that his size was an advantage. I mean, the low man wins comment that Jim makes several times in the book. He was able to get under people's pads. I mean, any offensive lineman that tried to block him, none of them are going to tell you that Sam was at a disadvantage, because he usually put most of them on their backs.
You got, as you mentioned, his brother there. I think that's where the title of the book came from. But tell that story. You call it, I think it's a great title for Sam's story. Again, it's Just Give Me a Chance to Fail. Where did that title come from, Paul?
Yeah, you mentioned his brother Leon, his younger brother, that was probably the closest of his 12 siblings to Sam. They look like twins, even though there were a 3-year gap. When I went in to start researching this, you think of titles. I don't know. I was thinking, well, Keep Pounding maybe would ultimately be the name of the book. And I talked to his brother, and he told me the stories about how Sam would always tell him, I just give me a chance to fail. That all he wanted from people that were doubting him was a fair opportunity. If he didn't make the most of it, if he failed, that's on him. But, look at him and give him an opportunity without looking at just the size factor. And, fortunately for him, that finally happened in Philadelphia with the USFL, and ultimately the NFL with New Orleans and Carolina. But yeah, I mean, as soon as he mentioned those words to me, Scott, I knew I had the book title. I mean, it should be a book title. It should be a movie title. It's just a great, it's just a terrific title.
It really is unique too. Yeah, it's great when that happens as a reporter, when you find a headline just flashing in front of your eyes, or in this case, a book title. Well, last thing, I guess, Paul, as we close, but I'd like you to just sort of make a pitch, if you would, to Panther fans that listen to this podcast as to maybe who should buy this book, who might be interested in this book. As I say, I give it a very high endorsement. I've read a lot of sports books, and this one is just so well reported. But why do you think Panthers fans, especially those who maybe are younger and don't know Sam Mills's career, weren't around in the mid '90s when he was here? Why should they buy this book?
Yeah, I mean, I think Sam's story kind of is timeless. I mean, he's, as I've pointed out to people, he was the ultimate underdog. Nobody wanted to give him a chance, and I've told people that you don't even have to be a football fan to enjoy this book. I mean, early on, the introduction deals a lot with how football has changed over the years when Sam first got started, and in his career, and how the position changed. But most of the book is about his life, about him overcoming what he overcame to be successful. And I mean, as Peter King, who wrote a blurb for the book on the back cover, said, I mean, this is a book for anybody that's been told they're not big enough, smart enough, strong enough, who's been doubted. I mean, you can find inspiration in this guy. I mean, you read Sam's story, even the way he died, Scott. I mean, I can't imagine dealing with the cancer he had with the positive energy that Sam did. I mean, somebody tells me at 43 that I've got 3 to 4 months to live. I'm going to be I'm going to be just destroyed, and I'm certainly not going to care about what other people think. And here, this guy, he just not only fought the cancer as long as he could, but used it to help other people, to other people that had cancer. He tried to get the message out to, the keep pounding message to this day still reverberates. I talked to him 7 months before he died, Scott. I was down there. They were getting ready to play the Eagles in an October game in 2004. And I went down a few days earlier, and we chatted for about an hour out on the field. I couldn't even believe that 13 months into a cancer that should have killed him already, that he still looked like he could play. But he's telling me about how lucky he is that, over what he's done in his life, and what the Christmases he saw that they said he wouldn't see, and things like that. And I'm just thinking to myself, wow, this is not, no matter how much I tried, this would not be my outlook as I approach death. But, that's why he's such an inspiration to people, and why I think this story is timeless. I mean, whether you know about Sam's story or not, you're going to read it. You're going to feel something. You're going to cry. You're going to be inspired. And I hope that's the case with people in Charlotte, people in New Orleans, people everywhere. I mean, he's still revered in Long Branch, New Jersey, where he grew up. I mean, they don't have a statue of him there, but you mention his name to anybody, and they'll tell you stories about him.
Well said. Well, Paul, we can't thank you enough. Again, the book is Just Give Me a Chance to Fail. And now back to our regularly scheduled programming on Processing Blue with Alex and Mike.
And Mike and I are back. Good stuff from the interview. Mike, I know you've known Paul for a considerable amount of time. Just like, how cool is this whole project, do you think?
I think it's awesome. As somebody who really likes deep cuts and the history of the game, I think it's really impressive how many people Paul got to speak on Sam, who, I mean, he's from New Jersey. So I knew of Sam Mills, but I didn't know the story. And I think that's what's kind of cool about this. This is for another generation getting to learn who he is. And as a book reader, you and I are both you're a prolific book reader, but like for me, I love biographies. I just love that he took on this project. I know how much that covering his career meant to him. I grew up reading Paul. Paul's one of the guys that I wouldn't say idolized, but a guy that I took a lot of tricks from the trade from, and we worked alongside each other. So it was very cool to get him on Processing Blue, but also to hear two guys who are historians in their own right just chat about the history of the game. I think Scott does a really good job of putting you within the perspective of the moment and the coverage timeline. It's something that's really special, and I think they both kind of captured that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And Sam Mills is he has so much iconography with the Carolina Panthers franchise, which actually was pretty cool to know so much about, or to learn so much about Sam before he was such an inspiration in Carolina. Because guess what? He came here in the twilight of his career, and he had a really long road, a really winding path to Charlotte prior to that. So that was cool. But also, he has so much iconography with the Hall of Fame itself. And obviously the Panthers are celebrating Luke Kuechly going into the Hall of Fame later this week. And that'll be great. And it's the reason why the Panthers have a fourth preseason game, and they're going to play in the first preseason football game in the NFL this year on Thursday. And so, Mike, why don't we wrap up with just a very, very quick preview about the Hall of Fame game. So give me something that you're looking forward to, and you're going to be kind of having a keen eye on Thursday night.
Yeah, Haynes King. I think he's performed a lot better than I thought. I think his the balls that he's throwing have looked pretty keen. Like he doesn't look like a guy that you're like, well, he's Tebow or he's
Right.
Felipe Franks or Taysom Hill. Like he looks like like a thrower of the football out there in practice. And I think he's impressed even the Panthers in that regard, the way they've talked about him. As I mentioned, he's looked good when he's starting to just seem Reed, James Mitchell, friend of the podcast, and some of those guys. And I just think, but I could see him doing some really good stuff, especially if he's throwing 86 on Thursday. I'll give you another one really quick. Trevor Achane. I think he's a guy that's flown under the radar during camp because it's kind of hard to gauge how a running back's doing with just like arm tackles and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. He really needs to step it up as a returner, but I really want to see him get a lot of run during this preseason. I think he's good. I do think he's good, and I think he needs a place in the offensive running. With them not playing Chuba and Jonathan Brooks this preseason game, let's see what Achane can do. Well, who's somebody that's really you've got your eye on, or something that you've got your eye on, Alex?
Yeah. I mean, kind of dovetailing off what you're saying about Achane, I'm looking at Jimmy Horn Jr. because on the unofficial depth chart, and I know these depth charts are a collaboration of many different people. Why are you pointing at me like that?
It actually originally said official depth chart. So
I didn't realize that. Well,
yes, somebody brought that to my attention yesterday.
That's hilarious. But the thing is so last year the Panthers rationalized having Trevor Achane on the field, or like on the active roster, because he wasn't getting reps at the running back spot, but he was getting valuable reps and was the starting punt returner and starting kick returner. That was part of the reason why Jimmy Horn wasn't active on game days. I am curious to see if Jimmy Horn can make a splash play or two as a kick returner, as a punt returner, because that's really the path for him to get on the field, to get a jersey in hand on Sundays. And if he can find a way to make some really big splash plays this preseason, Jimmy Horn Jr. stock is up, period, point blank. And let's be clear, like as much potential as Trevor Achane showed, as much as this offensive staff loved Trevor, because they really did, as much as they liked him, you need there is potential for improvement at punt returner. There is potential for improvement at kick returner. And this is like an opening for Jimmy Horn to kind of seize, I think. Anything that I know Jimmy Horn was also someone that you were looking at too. Anything that I might have missed on that section?
I think defensively, we've got to pay attention to who's working at nickel and who's working outside. I think if Will Lee gets some playing time, I mean, Will Lee's played really, really. Monday's practice was almost pristine, like until like a one-handed touchdown catch to just like exclamation point a practice. But he had like 3 or 4 pass breakups in team drills on Monday, and I've been really impressed by Willie. Actually, of all the rookies, I'd argue he's maybe been the most outwardly impressive. Granted, you're seeing a lot more throwing and coverage than you were allowed to see tackling, but he's kind of piqued my interest. Jackson Kuwatch, who's from nearby Cincinnati, made a play today in the passing game. He's pretty interesting too. I want to see how these backup linebackers tackle, man. I know we're kind of running into time constraints here, but he's another one that Chuck Claudin Cherilus, Bam Martin Scott, all those guys. Like I think that'll be interesting for everybody to watch.
Hey, was Jackson Kuwatch inspired by Luke Kuechly?
He was. You can read about it on CharlotteObserver.com on Thursday, the big preview for the Gameroo. So
any final thoughts before we get on out of here, Mike? Because I know you're about to go to Canton. You're so excited. I'm excited for you. What should listeners of this podcast know before we get on out of here?
That The Processing Blue podcast is only getting started. It seemed like this was like a pipe dream a couple of years ago that Alex and I had, and it's turned into a thing that's been recognized by APSE and all that stuff. And it's been fun working with Scott and Zach. And you can look forward to the newsletter. Alex has got it this week. Again, it's a point of pride for us. If you've subscribed to it, I truly, truly appreciate it. Thank you for riding with us. If you've subscribed to the Charlotte Observer, I appreciate you riding with us. I know that paying and investing your time in our coverage is no short-sighted choice, and there are places you can get stuff for free, but you've been rolling with us and we hear and see your passion all the time. FanFest was really cool because I think you could feel the energy in a way you have. And I had a lot of people come up to me to tell me how excited. Thank you guys for investing in our products, and thanks for rolling with us throughout the summer and beyond.
Absolutely. Very kind words, Mike. And here we go. Thanks, as always, for listening to our pontifications on all things Panthers with Mike Kaye and myself and our wonderful producer, Zach Dennis. Please subscribe and follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts by searching Processing Blue. And if you watch us on YouTube, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and click on the bell icon to get notified whenever new episodes drop. And finally, please be sure to stick to charlotteobserver.com for all of your Panthers needs. Mike, stay humble, stay creative, and keep processing.
Zach, that's what you call a wrap.